Hey everyone, this is Ainesh from the Coding Culture team. I'm super excited to introduce the speaker who is going to give you insights about good competitive programming practices. But before that, let me introduce the Coding Culture to you. The Coding Culture is a collaboration of 50 plus developer student clubs from all over India that is aimed to introduce and improve the culture of competitive programming. The Coding Culture is and will always be a completely free platform. It is completely student run, and you can be assured that we have done our best to create a platform we always wish we had. You will also get the opportunity to network with DSE members and coders from all over the country. The coding culture is just what you need if you aspire to become a good coder. The coding culture is a one-stop solution for your queries, good practices, interactions, and competitions. So if you haven't joined the community yet, do so quickly using the link given in the description below. We welcome you to the first part of the webinar series. The topic for this month is number theory and mathematics. The speaker for the same will be Anshuman Sharma. Anshuman is a second year undergraduate who has a deep interest in brainstorming and solving problems technically. This interest has taken him to pursue a bachelor's in AI. He has solved dozens of programming questions over a plethora of online judges, which have increased his problem solving and critical thinking capabilities. He's fond of the adrenaline rush that he feels while competing in different coding competitions, and I'm sure you will be able to learn a lot from this young and enthusiastic competitive programmer. Over to you, Anshuman.
Thanks a lot, Ainesh, for this wonderful introduction. So let's start with our session. In this session, we would be introducing you with some of the basic techniques that we can use in the competitive programming so as to make our codes more efficient. So in order to not to mess everything up when the contests are going, and how we can make the execution of the code faster. Also, how we can reduce our typing, the quantity of the typing that we type when we are solving questions when the contest is live. So for it, we are having different techniques that we all should know before beginning in the journey of competitive programming. So let's start with this session for now. So we are having some basic data types. We all know some basic data types like int, which ranges from -2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power -2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Or we can also, if we take it as per the 10 to the power as the base of 10 to the power, then it may range up to, it's an approximate value. Okay, so it's from -2 to 2 into 10 to the power 9 till 2 into 10 to the power 9. Okay, so we are having long, which whose it's a 64-bit container that we can use to store integer values. Its limit is this, as we can see. We can store numbers up to 10 to the power 18 here. Okay, so we are having float, which can have the precision up to 10 to the power 38 or -38, like this. And also we are having double, which is a really good data type, which we can use for better precisions when we are solving some problems, which includes the decimal point values. Okay, so also we are having character. If we are using C, then for the string purposes we can make the an array of character. Okay, so but if we are having string, then in C++ we are already having a string, so we need not character data type. There is a inbuilt data type in C++ library, which is a string itself, so we need not to make the character array in our C++ programs. Also, we are having a Boolean data type as well, because but we can use int as well, like 0 or 1. Anything is 0 is false, and anything other than 0 is true always. So this is it. Now here comes the part, is the shortening of the code, like how we can make the code shorter. For that, we are using some macros in front of the code. So before we start the code, we make some templates of some codes, and in that templates we write some codes, like if we are using some sort of things in our programs again and again, so we mention a short form at the top of that code file. So some major ones, like something from C++ STL we can take, like we push the values in a vector. So for that we uses a pushback. So for pushback, the most frequent used macro is PB. Like we can use PB for pushback. We are going to see how it works in a while. So we can also use make pair. Like we can also create a vector of a pair, and we can insert two values as a single element in that vector array, and that pair vector. I mean, also we are having pair intent and long as well. Long can be defined as LL for sure. For vector, like if I want to declare a vector which are having the values as pairs, sure. So we have already defined pi as pair of intent, and for vector we can just define vector pi and we can name it as VII. Okay, so these are some general things that we use as macros in our code to make it shorter. There are a lot more, and we can make as per our need whatever we want. Okay, so we can go through it. So now we are having the fast IO, which is the fast input output. What it does is it makes the input and output streams more efficient in our code. So whenever we input or output something, we just makes it really fast than what it is in C++ or C. So for that, we need to use two lines of code, just two lines of code, which is the iOS sync with S standard input output, and which is false. So and cin.tie null. So what it does, it toggles on or off the synchronization of C++ standard streams with their corresponding C streams. Okay. And also the cin.tie. So tie is a function. It ensures the flushing of the output stream before we take any input. So it's always good to include these two lines as our first line of code in the main function. Also, we can define a macro for the same. If we want to increase the efficiency of our input output in our code. Okay, so this was it. Now let's move to the actual code section where we'll see that how the things actually works. So here I'm having this template, like I have created as per my need, whatever I need throughout any question. If I feel that I am going to use this particular keyword again and again, so I just mention it as as a macro in my original code. So for here, we are having so many of header files. So we need not to include each and every header file in our code. So like I can show you, we are having this much of header files having different type of functions uh, in C++. I'm talking specifically about C++. So we are having this much of header file. So we can't, make sure to include each and every file, and we can't include each and every file in every program. So for that, we can use just a single line of code, which is bits /std++ dot h. It includes every function that we'd be needing in the competitive programming, and it's really just a one liner, so it makes our code looks good and doesn't create any mess with our code. Also, I have defined the macro of a for loop. We must be using for loop so many times in our code, so we need not to write this long each and every time we use a for loop. So for that, I have made a macro for it, namely for xin. So whatever is the I, it will start the variable x with the I, whatever we'll mention, and it will run less than n. Okay, so we can also make different variations of for loop in our code as per we need. Like we can also modify it to run till n or any value that we want, long as long, and many other things. Okay, so let's code right now. Let's say first, as a first line, generally what we see in competitive programming, that as a first line of input we are supposed to take the the number of test cases that particular problem is having. So let's name that variable as t. String t. Then we run a while loop, while t minus minus. It decreases the value and also checks the value of t at the same time. So we need not to write it like this. Okay, we can write it directly. T minus minus here in the condition directly. So while t minus minus, let's say we want to have n number of array, where we want to have n elements in our array. So let's declare n, and we have taken the input as n. Now I want to make a vector of pairs. Okay, so each element will be having two values. So one way which I can declare a vector is like vector pair intent. These all are special containers which are included in the sample template library of C++. So if you guys are not familiar with it, you may check the Geeks for Geeks website, or there are pretty many courses out there or videos for C++ STL over YouTube or different websites. So you may refer them. So I have made a vector as ARR and I have named it as ARR. So let's say I need to make too many vectors. So will I be writing this long in each contest? Probably no, because I have already mentioned I need not to write this long. I have already mentioned it as VII right here. Okay, so like I have already made it. So I'll just simply write VII. Okay, so I have written VII, and after it, let's take the input in the array, in the vector, whatever we can call it. So now I need to run a for loop in order to run my code n times. Okay, so for I comma 0, I want this loop to initiate with 0, and I want to run it less than n times till n. Okay, so now let's say a and b are the values of are the primary and secondary keys of the pair. So let's take input of a and b. I want to push the pair of a and b inside the vector that I have declared up above, VII as ARR. So I'll write ARR dot. Uh, if I have not declared the pushback as PB, then I need to write the pushback this long. So I'll just simply write, but this time I have declared it. So I'll just write ARR dot PB. Then I need to make the pair of A and B. So the make pair I have already declared as MP. Okay, so here I will write make pair of A and B. Okay, so this is what I'm doing is I'm pushing the value as a pair at each element of that vector. So after it, I want this array of pairs to be sorted by their primary elements. So I want this array to be sorted by the A values throughout the vector. So for it, I need not to implement any sorting algorithm right here, be it bubble sort, merge sort, or whatever we know. We need not to make any function to sort this actually, because everything has been implemented in this header file. Everything has been included in our code. So we just need to call a simple function called sort. We have called sort, and we want the array to be sorted from begin till end. We don't want a sub array of it to be sorted or something like this. We want the whole array to be sorted. So what I'll do is arr dot begin, arr dot end. So it will sort sort the array very efficiently. It is, and this function is a combination of merge sort, quick sort, and something like bubble sort. I guess it's a combination of three sorting algorithms, most efficient ones, and it makes it a really very optimized version of sorting. It's a hybrid kind of sorting. It does So we have sorted it. Now we want to output it. So for the output, we will again run a for loop. Then we'll say cout A followed by space in B, then EL. So we can also write ENDL here, but ENDL is more time consuming because what it does, it flushes the output streams and after creating a new line. So even if it's not necessary, so we need not to flush it every time. So for that, I have already included a macro like for the new line. So it's always better to write the \n instead of ENDL. Okay, so you can write this, but I have already made a macro for it. So so that's it. Now we'll get a sorted pair, sorted vector, right? So let's run it for now. Also, after each case, I would be making a break of one line. So let's run it. I hope that everyone is well. So we are having B was not declared in this scope. Okay, so the scope of A and B are just in the upper for loop. Okay, so we forgot to need to have it before this for loop. So it went well. Let's say we are having two test cases, right? So for two, we are having two, and then we want in our first test case, I want let's say 5 elements, and as a 5 elements, I will be pushing two values at each element at each position. So let's say 1, 5, 6, 2, 4, 1, 1, 3, and 0, 3. Oh, I think something is not right here. Oh, my bad, my bad. Like ARR I dot s, also ARR I dot first. So it's the first value and it's the second value. I forgot to mention. I beg your pardon for that. So we are having the first value and the second value. I've already mentioned it as the first and second. So in the pair, we are having two values. So this is the first value and this is the second value. So let's run it for the once again. This value. 0 and let's say 4. So you can see that we have got a sorted vector of pairs like 0, 4, 1, 3, 1, 5, 4, 1, and 6, 2. Now, this vector is sorted by its primary key. It doesn't mean that that the secondary elements needs to be sorted. If we want to make them sorted, or there's a concept like stable sort, then we can make separate functions for that, as per our need, whatever. So this was it for the basic thing. Now I think we should solve one more question from our first um, contest over Code Chef. So we are having the first question as a print pattern, and in that print pattern, it is given that Rashmi loves the festival of Diwali as she gets to spend time with his family and enjoy the festival. Before she can fully enjoy the festival, she needs to complete the homework assigned by the teacher. Since Rashmi is smart, she has solved all the problems but is stuck at one tricky pattern question. Your task is to help Rashmi solve the problem so that she can enjoy the festival with her family. The problem she is struck on is defined like this. Given an integer n, you need to generate the pattern according to the following example. Okay, so we are having n, and we need to output a pattern based on this following example. Okay, so just try to observe this example that what it wants to tell us. Let's go to the sample test cases. So for 3, we are having 1, 2, 3, and 4 rows, and for 5 we are having again 4 rows. So no matter what n is, the rows will be always 4. Okay, now let's try to look the pattern in each row. Okay, number of rows will be always 4, and in each row we can see that the pattern it is following is it is increasing the number by 3. Then the value from which we have increased the prior value will double that difference. Now we are increasing the 4 by 6. Now we're increasing the 10 by 12. Now we are increasing 22 by 24. So this is the pattern that we can see. But there is one exception. When it is 4, we are starting our difference. We are starting our increment of the values. We are starting the increment in our values by the value 6. Okay, when the first element is 4. Okay, so in the 4 we have increased the value with 6, then 12, then 24, and so on. Okay, so let's try to code it up. It is given that we would be giving first the t, which is the number of test cases. After it, we'll be given n separated integers, or the t separated integers. Each would be n. Okay, so let's code it up right here. I'll remove it. And before beginning with our code, I would like to mention, and I would like to include the fast IO. Let's call it boost. So I'll include boost as the first line. Int cint while t minus minus. Now we need to take the input as let's first check the constraints. It's 30, and I think that the integer, the limit of integer that we have just saw now won't be sufficient. So it is great to, it's always nice to include, to use long as our basic data type which we are using. So I'll begin with long only. So let's say ll, because I've defined long as ll. So ll in cin, and now we need to print. Okay, so for the outer loop will be for rows, and there will be 4 rows only. Okay, so so 4 I comma 0 comma 4, like it will run from 0 to up till 3, 0 1 2 3. It will be total of 4. Before it, we can see that the first element of each row is always 1 2 4 and 3. So we can make an array for the starting element, right? So int ll, it would be 1 2 4 and 3. Okay, so now we need to run another for loop for the columns for printing each row. I mean, so for j comma 0 till n, whatever we have taken the input is, like for 3 we are having 3 columns, for 5 we are having 5 columns. So here, let's call our first element as temp, right? Let's take ll temp as Here is here are I, whatever will be the position of our row, it will take the input accordingly. So we are having LL temp and the difference that will be increasing it from diff. Okay. So one observation that we have made is if the starting element, if the first element of a row, if it's 4, then we'll start to increase it by 6. So we can use the ternary operator for this reason. So it's just a short and if else, I would say. So we can write it like this. So if temp is equals to 4, then we can initialize our diff by 6, else we'll initialize it as 3, right? So what we need to do is we need to print cout temp followed by a space. After it, we need to increase the value of temp by diff plus equals to diff. We can also write temp, it's just similar to like temp is equals to temp plus diff. It's just similar, okay? But it's more efficient in terms of the execution speed. So it's always preferable to write the expressions like this. It also shortens the code, like it looks more beautiful. So we have increased the value of temp by diff, and then after each increment, we need to uh, you know uh, double the value of difference. So diff into is equals to 2, right? That's it, I think. And also after each row, we need to print a new line. So let's run it, have a look if it's run successfully, and if not, we lacking. Let's copy the test cases. So I have copied the test cases. I'm getting the right answer, I think 1 4 2 5 11 4 10 22 3 1 3 6 12 1 4 10 22 46. I think it's okay. So let's just submit it and see if we have done a good job or not. It's taking a bit long. I think it will, there isn't any problem. So we have got a correct answer. Now let's modify it a bit and let's see that if it works for int as well or not. Okay, so I will just declare all the variables as int, and then everything is same. My code is exactly the same. Just I have changed the data type which I'm using as int instead of the long. Now let's say if I again will get a right answer or not. Was my approximation that I have got that I made was right or not? So it was right. Okay, we have got a wrong answer. Why? Because the int, the data type which we are using is overflowed. Its limit, the number which we are inputting is beyond its limit. So it's always good to use long easier code. So this is it. I think we are done with some sample questions, and we have looked for the value of macros, the fast input output, and we are I think we are good to go with each and every competition, like the basics things that we all need to know for participating in a contest. We are done. I think now we can take some questions if you guys have any.
Hey Anshuman, that was a great session.
Yeah.
Uh, so there are a few questions that we will have to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the first question was asked by someone in the YouTube live chat. The question is,
Mm-hmm.
what basically is a flush operation? So could you explain about the flush operation that we use in C++?
Yeah, so flush, what flush do is it just we are having some input streams and output streams. So what it does, it just clears the output stream. We in the output stream we are having multiple characters which gets buffered when we are writing a code. Multiple things or sometimes some junk gets buffered in those streams. So it's always better to flush the streams whenever needed.
That was a great answer. Thank you. Can we
Yeah.
have the next question? Yeah. So Anshuman, many people were curious as to why you made a macro for a short process like for loop, and will that really make a difference?
No, it doesn't really make a difference, but it's better. Like it's pretty much time consuming to write a for loop like this, like in a proper format again and again. Okay, so if you can see that how much less we need to write when we are in a contest. So each and every second matters when we are in a live contest. So within a minute, we can see the rank list, a huge difference in the rank list, just a single minute. So if we are using for loop, let's say 10 times, so it will take really less time to write the macro instead of writing it in a full length or in a proper syntax, I would say.
That was a great
Also,
answer.
we
Thank
need
you.
to
Yeah,
also
go
we
ahead.
need to write less for it. So nobody wants to write more for for a thing which is getting repeated again and again. That's why we are having functions in programming.
True.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Okay, thank you
Yeah.
so much. That was a great answer, Anshuman. Can we have the
Mhm.
next question? Yeah. So this is asked by a few beginners. We have a lot of beginners who are listening to the webinar, Anshuman. So they're confused by using T minus in the code. And what do you mean by decreasing the test case? So could you please just share some insight on that?
Like test cases. Oh, okay. We can experiment a bit. Is my screen visible right
Yes,
now?
Anshuman.
Is it visible?
Yes, Anshuman.
Okay. So what it does, it first checks that what is the value of t. Okay, so we need to run a loop, let's say n times. So we have, let's say t times for in this case. So we need to make sure that the loop runs t times only and not less or more. So what t minus minus in the condition does, it's just same. We are having a base condition, let's say t, and and at the end of the loop we'll write t minus minus. So what it will do, when we'll dry run this code, it will first check the what is the value of t. Is it true or false? Is it zero or not? So if it's zero, then it will stop the execution of that loop right here. Okay, so if it's not zero, then it will print something. So let's say C out value of t. So let's run it. Let's say we have 6. So what it does is it first checked for 6, then it checked for 5, and after every loop we are decreasing the value of t. When it reached to 1, we again checked for it, and while now t is 0. Okay, so the condition is false, so it will not print anything, and the program will get terminated. And if we'll write t minus minus right here instead of writing it down there, so in that case we are having the values from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The reason being is that it first checks the value of t, then it decreases the value of t, and then it goes under the loop. So it's the same as what the previous scenario was. So there is no difference. Just we need not to write extra t. That's it. You can use either ways.
Thank you so much, Anshuman. That was a great answer. I hope that answers the question and clears the doubts that the beginners have. Moving on to the next question. Yeah. Okay. Anshuman, I think we already answered this question. Or would you like to take this up again?
No, if we have, then we may proceed with the next question.
Yeah. So this is a question that was asked. They said it is said that iterators like for loops are less efficient in terms of optimization. So is there any way to lessen their use? Like you had given an example using 10 loops for something or so.
Using or
10 for loops for something or so. You had given an example where you were speaking. So they want to reduce. They were asking if for loops are less efficient in terms of optimization and what you could do to combat that issue.
I don't think that they are less efficient. Like everyone uses the for loop, or we can go for while loops. It's the same. Like we can use for loop. I don't think there is some issue with their optimizations. Like if you look at the code of let's say code forces round E, question E or F and div 1 or div 2, they also uses the for loops. Like there is nothing wrong with the for loop optimizations. We can use for loop as it is. No need for it.
That's true. Absolutely true. Okay, moving on to the next question. Yeah, why we use sync with Studio 0 in the code is one question that was asked.
Why we use
sync with Studio of 0 in the
yeah
code?
yeah. So what it does, it toggles on or off. We are having two strings, a C++ and C. So they use the internal synchronization that goes in the backend. So what it does, it toggles on or off the synchronization of all the CPP standard libraries. Okay, so for that, let's say in C, there's one more factor that I want you guys to focus on is in C. What we do is we take the input as we like %d. If we want to take the input of integer value, then we specify it as %d. But in C++, we don't do such things. So there is some backend code which declares that how we need to take that input as. So what the sync with stdio does, as it's the static member of iOS class first of all, and it just switches the synchronization of both the input output streams of C and C++. Okay, so as per our need, it keeps a buffered streams, and it flushes them out in one go. So this is what it basically focuses on. If you want to learn more about it, that how it exactly works in the backend, you may go over Geeks for Geeks or Stack Overflow, I think. Their actual data are also given, like what is the time that it will take with this statement or without it, and what is the difference between the time limits or the execution time that we get without including this code or with including this code. So this was all about it.
That was great. Thank you, Anshuman. Okay,
Mhm.
there was another question, and they wanted you to share some more insights about the header file hash include bits slash stdc++.h.
Like this is just a normal file like std++h. It includes all the functions of these header files, that these individual header files that we are having in this particular language C++. So we need not to include each and every file again and again. Let's say we want to we want to use that sort that we just used, like we use the function sort. Okay, so we need not to include this. Let's say the sort function is there in the header file algorithms. Okay, so we need not to take care that what function is included in which file. So just for that sake, we use the bits std++, this header file. It includes everything which we want, and it includes every function in one go. So, and it's also looks more cleaner. So that's why you use the bits std++ file. That's it.
Thank you, Anshuman. That was actually a very useful insight. So the next question is, do we have to calculate the time taken by inbuilt functions while calculating the total complexity of a code, such as the sort function?
Not necessarily. Like the sort function that we are including, it's the most efficient sort function that is implemented. Okay, and it's a mix of all the things, all the various sorting algorithms. It also do some methods like randomization kind of things to lessen the probability of having a worst case. So what we need to take care of is the big O complexity of that particular code in order to analyze the optimization part. Okay, so optimization part will be taken in detail in the future sessions, I guess. So that's it. We need to just focus on the big O complexity, or how many nested loops are we having, or how many recursions we are having, and what is the worst case. That's what we all need to take care of, and not the uh, not about the functions that we are using. Okay,
Great.
so if we are using, let's say, sort function, so its worst case complexity is n log n, we all know. But if a function, if a program or if a problem wants us to solve that problem in a complexity of O of n, so we can't use that function as well. Okay, we'll get a TLE because of that. So that's why we should focus on the big O complexity, the overall. And if you need to find the big O complexity of any of the function, you can directly search it over the net. That's it.
That was great. Thank you so much, Anshuman. Moving on to the next question. Why is C++ faster than many languages? Like the C++ version of the game Minecraft is quite faster than the Java version. The coding also gets compiled, but it works faster in the case of C++.
Mhm.
So, why is C++ faster than many languages is the question. Would you like to take it?
Because the person who made C++, he has used a really wiser things, and the code, the it's like more nearer to to our system. Okay, so like in the Python or in Java, we are having many libraries or many things that it needs to fetch from different sources. Okay, so the main reason is for C++ being faster than any other language is that it's more nearer to the binary language. Like C is the most fastest language because it's a low level language, and Java or Python is level languages. Python is having a 5 times more. Python takes 5 times more execution time as what C++ takes. So in the higher level of CP questions, we'll get a TLE, or we'll run out of the memory limit of that problem. If we are using C, if we are using Python instead of C++. So it's always wiser. It's always good to choose a good language, and C++ is the best for it because we are having the STL support. Data structures, each and every data structure is implemented there in this header file. So we need not to implement it when we are coding. It makes our life easier.
That was great, Anshuman. Just adding a small point to this.
Mhm.
So, in languages such as Java and Python, there is automatic garbage collection, right? And that is
Mhm.
actually a
Right.
time process. But in languages such as C and C++, the developer is given the freedom of doing whatever he or she wants, and he or she has to take the responsibility of clearing the variables or the memory space that he used. So we use an operation called free, right? So this is
Mhm.
much faster in C and C++, but Java and Python, on the other hand, every time you execute your code, every time you in fact compile it, etc., what happens is it garbage collection happens, which is a tedious process. So therefore, it is a little time taking, and that is why languages such as C and C++ are faster. Hope that is accurate, Anshuman.
Yeah, that's accurate. But garbage collection is itself, a wide topic. So I prefer not to discuss it right here.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to the next question.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you tell what is use of flush, std out, and what buffer in C++ is?
I think I've already mentioned it. We have already discussed it, like
Yes,
buffer and all these kind of things.
I think we can skip this question for now.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting question. Will including the bit slash stdc++.h instead of specific headers increase the compile time or runtime?
No, there is no difference in including the single header file or multiple header files. Okay, so it comes under the compilation time, not the execution time. What we are focusing on is execution time. So it doesn't make any difference while we are competing in the contest or over the online judges. So it's better to use bits slash std instead of including particular test files or
That's
header
great.
files. I guess.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Anshuman.
Mhm.
Moving on to the next question. How to check the time complexity as a beginner uh, for beginners, as there's a specific case. One person solved a question and it took 0.02 seconds, but the question asked for 0.01 seconds. So he's asking you to share some advice on how we could solve the problem.
Okay, so what we are focusing here is on the major, the bigger picture of that problem. Like in your case, you just took the double of the time that you are supposed to. So you need to reduce the time complexity to its half. Like if you are having a complexity of n square for a problem which needs the n log n time, so it's obvious that we'll get TLE. So we need to look at the bigger picture and not the minute things in our code. So in your case, you are getting double the time. You're getting double the time. Let's say I'm having a loop which runs for, let's say, 10 to the power 6 times, and my algorithm uses that loop for 2 times. I'm using that loop 2 times, so my loop will be running 2 into 10 to the power 6 times. But the time complexity of that which wants me to solve it in 1 second. So as a rule of thumb, what we assume is that our computer or the processing time or the processing limit of our computer is near about 10 to the power 8 or 10 to the power 9 operations per second. Okay, so basically I'm taking 2 into 10 to the power 6 seconds. Okay, so for this case, I won't get a TLE. Okay, but if I'm having those loops as a nested loops, then my complexity will just doubles, or it will be 10 to the power 6 times more. The overall operations that I will be performing will be 10 to the power 12, which is more than 10 to the power 8 or 9. So in that case, I will get a TLE. So this is what we need to take care of. for that specific problem that you have solved, maybe you can go for some optimization techniques, or can see some other people code, that how they coded the successful submissions, in order to get the correct picture of that problem.
That was great, Anshuman. Thank you so much. So,
Mhm.
Anshuman, we are out of questions now. So, on a
Okay.
general note, is there any kind of advice you would like to give all the aspiring competitive programmers so that they can reach your
Yeah.
level?
Yeah. I'm not that much of pro competitive programmer, but just for as per my experience, I would suggest you to practice as much as you can. Okay, no matter from which college you are, no matter whether you are in a tier 3 college or a tier 1 college. Okay, the only thing which makes you apart, which puts you apart, is the practice, is the sheer practice that you put in the algorithmic thinking, and the brainstorming and the problem solving skills. The more you will improve the problem solving skills, more it will get easier for you to see the bigger picture, and also to solve these algorithmic problems far easier. Because nowadays, what competitive programming is, it's the soul. Like, in each of the companies that would be applying, the first round of that will be based on the problem solving skills. Okay, so an interview as well, nobody can judge your development in just 2 hours. So for that, we need to have really good competitive programming skills. We need to have a good problem solving skills, because one having a good brain can adapt anything that it wants. So the main part that I want to focus on is practice. Okay, so, and the second part, the most important one, is having fun. Don't get frustrated from a problem. Just try to think that how to solve it in a more interesting way. How the problem will get solved. What are the algorithms that are applied in a particular problem, and what is the thinking process that a successful solver of that problem has gone through. Okay, so thinking process has been is developed over the time, and not just overnight. Okay, so frustration is just natural in it, and after getting so many of wrong answers, or TLE, or 6A errors, segmentation faults. After it, when we solve a question which gets a AC, it's just so satisfying that I can't explain right here. So that's the thing. Like, practice as much as you can, and have fun, and just keep on learning on the way. Okay, so you can't start the CP after learning everything. So just start practicing CP, and once you are stuck with a problem, at that point you can refer to the editorials, and you can check the concepts that has been used, or that are being used in that particular problem, and you can learn it at that point only, to make a journey more interesting and full of learning. That's it.
Thank you so much, Anshuman. That was some great advice.
Yeah.
Everyone, please note further questions will be taken on Discord. And please do not forget to attend our webinar tomorrow on number theory and mathematics. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did. And I hope to see you tomorrow as well. Bye, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. Bye,
Thank you
Anshuman.
all. Bye.